Today, I want to thank Tech, the Executive Connection, for sponsoring our program. And we have as our special guest today, Howard Franks from Camera Electronics, camera store here in Perth, servicing all of your camera and electronics needs. Hello again, and today our special guest is Howard Franks from Camera Electronics. Howard, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
Family business is the order of the day, the conversation that I want to have with you.
Absolutely.
You're in a family business.
Yes, I am.
Good fun.
Yes,
I'm
most
sure
of the
there's
time.
lots of experiences you've got. Give us a bit of a story of how you got to be in this family business.
So my late father, Ron Frank, started our business from home in 67 or 68, depending on his mood. We could never quite remember which one it was. And then incorporated in 1971. Dad started off buying and selling broken camera gear, and he'd buy it broken, usually from the auctions, repair it, and he had a mechanical background, and then he'd sell it, and that's how he'd make his money. And then slowly transitioned into more new gear and rental gear and so on. My brother Saul came into the business full time in 1995, and I did in 1997. Prior to that, we were both working from when we were knee high and just grew up in it, and both fell into the business probably accidentally in different ways. Saul initially more on the sales side and studied photography. I was a tech for my first 7 years repairing camera gear and studied in that. And then as time evolved, we're more running the business and expanding the business side of things.
So was it just your dad in the business when he started? And was it a retail premises that you moved into?
He had a business partner at the very start, I think for about the first 18 months or so, who we never met. And then that ended very early on, and it was just Dad for a long time. Mum was involved a little bit, but more just helping with a bit of paperwork and banking and things like that.
Okay, so your dad started it.
Yep.
The two sons came into the business. Were you school educated through to university and had trades in other areas?
Yeah, look, we both went to local government primary school and high school, and then I went to university for a little while. I didn't like it and left after a few months, and then ended up in I remember Dad saying I stayed home for one day, and he said, "No son of mine's going to stay home and be a bludger. You can come and give me a hand." That was after staying home for one day, and nearly 25 years later, here I am.
Okay. And your brother, he went to university?
He went to TAFE and studied photography, and he studied business. And yeah, I studied business at university, and then I studied various electronics and electrical and optical sort of works in the TAFE system and the apprenticeship system.
Okay. So the business was really based in Perth. It was Perth clientele. And how did your dad grow the business? Was it just a trading thing, advertising in newspapers, or?
Yeah, Dad used to call on professional photographers and businesses a lot, deal with government departments, TV stations, hospitals, schools, things like that, and do a lot of their repairs. It was very solution-based business. So Dad had a strong reputation of you'd go to him if you needed to solve a problem and you weren't sure how to achieve something. He was very good technically. He was a fitter and turner by trade, always had a lathe and a milling machine and a workshop on site, and so he'd make custom adapters to put lenses and cameras and bits and pieces together that weren't meant to go together to provide a different solution. And the other thing was we always try to have the attitude of having everything in stock. As you know, in Western Australia, we wait a long time for everything. We're very isolated, so the idea was to always have it in stock, and then that way you can provide it for somebody without them having to wait. And we've always followed that rationale, and we still do trade-in, second-hand, repairs, on-site, rentals, all that stuff, but we do a lot more new and consumer-based stuff too, whereas Dad focused more on pro and niche things. We've added a lot more consumer retail side to the business.
When it started off and it was just Dad, he was making a living, growing a small business to feed the family. You and your brother joined the business. Then there were a few more salaries being paid out of the business. and the business started to grow. Who focused the growth, and how did the business grow?
That's actually interesting. Dad was a very street savvy, street smart, self-taught businessman, and was very good at what he did, and a very good trader and technical and repairer. If you asked Dad about a forecast or a budget, it was all in his head or his gut, and he never knew how to do anything like that. Your budget was what your bills were for the end of the month. You had to make sure you earned enough to pay for them that month, and it was always that simple.
Okay.
Then our mum's first cousin, Jeff Medea, he took over his father's business, which was a steel business, at one branch, and grew it into 12 and was quite successful. And Saul, my brother, was speaking to him at a family function and said, I'd love to hear about it sometime. And then we sat down for a coffee with Jeff and had a chat, and he was from a much more analytical business background and planning and spreadsheets and budgets and analysing the market and things like that. So from the mid-2000s, Jeff spent a lot of time with Saul and I, helping us, coaching us in different ways of understanding business as well, and did that for 7 or 8 years. And so in a lot of ways, Saul and I had two completely different mentors. One in Dad, a street smart businessman that understood our industry very well, but didn't have probably the formal business training. And then the other one, Jeff, who'd had the formal business training and a more analytical approach, and was also very experienced and successful in his own business. And we've probably ended up taking a mix out of both sides of that into our approach. Plus the other mentors we've had along the way that have been with us a long time through our business and our peers and so on.
Would you say that you've both learnt on the job?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And if that's an accepted, an agreed place that you've both learned on the job, who would be more business savvy? Or do you each take a different role in the business?
It's an interesting question, John. People often ask Saul and I, what's your role and how's it defined and what do you both do? It's probably not a philosophy either of us have. We both do what needs to be done. In saying that, Saul's probably dealing a little bit more with the customers and some of the marketing. I'm dealing a little bit more with the staff and the accounts and the suppliers. We're both across everything, and major decisions we discuss with each other when we need to, but we have full trust and faith in each other that if one of us needs to make a decision and do something, they'll do it, and that's fine, and we back the other one to the hilt. So we don't really have clearly defined roles. We're both business savvy, I suppose, in our own ways through experience.
Then how do the staff see this? Because how many staff would you have across your business now?
Around 30.
Okay, and how do they see the business? Do they see both of you as being the CEO, as a shared role?
Yeah, I guess so. That's probably the best way to put it. Through experience, they'll learn to come more to one of us or the other of us, depending on the question at times, or how busy we are and how responsive we may be. Sometimes one of them may come and ask me something and I'll say, I'll give an answer, and other times I may say, oh, could you ask Saul on that, and vice versa as well. And sometimes it's just a matter of whichever one of us they can get. As you know, I can be a bit busy to get hold of at times.
You are hard to get hold of, yes.
And phone rings a lot, so it's often whoever makes the most noise gets the most attention at that point in time as well.
A lot of your business is buying and sourcing gear from overseas, doing deals internationally. How does that take you away from the day-to-day of the office, and does that cause problems?
It's an interesting question. Look, we certainly travel a lot in recent years, and it's a lot to do with the way our industry's changed as well, coming back to a more specialty camera store focus and not probably quite as much in consumer electronics and mass merchants in these days of buying a camera, because if you want to buy a camera and not use your phone, it's a more informed decision these days. So you probably want to go somewhere with a bit more expert advice than someone that's selling lots and lots of different things. So it's quite specialised. Hence, there's always trade shows, marketing meetings, planning meetings, buying meetings, testing out product, and it's always happening somewhere either around Australia or around the world. So Yeah, we certainly do travel a lot. Our staff also travel a lot. You know, we were just talking prior to the show about doing video reviews of products prior to release. It's something we're starting to partner with the supplier brands a lot more on now, because it's so important about the way you go to market and execute that initial promotion of a product. So it's something that, it's just a challenging part of the business and life that you have to deal with.
It's really a relationship, isn't it? You've got great relationships with not just your suppliers now, but also your customers, because they can be also parts of your business if they're reviewing.
Oh, look, absolutely. We were in Japan a couple of weeks ago with Fujifilm. They were launching a new 102 megapixel camera, which was just amazing. And they did a thing called Fuji Kina. It's the 4th time they've done it, and they had 350, 400 people from around the world. So they had some retailers, they had the subsidiaries, and they had a number of photographers. And it's great for us because we go there and we know so many people, and then we were talking to them. We were talking to this amazing photographer from Norway, and then we're talking to him about coming out and doing some workshops with us in Australia. And you don't get those opportunities otherwise. And just so it's sort of things are really cool. At the same time, we had a photographer with us from Margaret River who was there on the global stage, and talking with him about the opportunities of doing something more here and collaborating with another adventure photographer from the States. And the opportunities that can create and bring back to the business and locally and help promote in Australia are really amazing.
It's quite a story. So today we're 1 store, 2 stores, 3 stores, 4 stores?
2 stores and online, which is like a 3rd store.
2 stores and online, and we're based in Perth.
Yep.
Okay, and about 30 people, and it's you and your brother run the show.
That's right, yeah.
With a great relationship by the sounds of it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, very good. Thanks. We're going to take a break now, and we'll come back shortly.